Hello, and welcome to my 2022 bullet journal setup. This is a bit of a different video than I normally make, so if you're not into this, then feel free to click away. But if you are down for just some chill description of how I organize my life, then stay tuned. So this is my bullet journal. I have the Archer and Olive 196 page journal, and it has this cute little teapot that is super shiny. On the side we have the pen loop, and there is a back pocket which I never use for its true purpose, but that's fine. The title page I also never use, but that is also fine. I am in love with these bookmarks though. I love the little ampersand. It is so cute. I will fill this in later. I don't do that today, I'm sorry. So on our first page we have the title page, which I am also not doing in this video because I didn't plan it, but we do move on to my future log next. This is notoriously a very lengthy and boring setup, so I have sped it up quite a bit and I skipped through a fair bit of it. For this I am using the Staedtler pigment liner in 0.1 to write out the names of the months. And then the Tombow dual brush pens for the colours. I actually really didn't like how this spread came out. I didn't do it as well as I wanted to, and to be honest I was a little bit stressed about filming as well. But it is what it is, and it's not perfect, and I think that that's kind of the beauty of bullet journaling, is that I have to learn to sit with imperfection. This spread also cramped my hand so much that I actually had to take a decent break afterwards. And this line drawing that I'm doing here is actually what made me hate this spread more than life itself. So I regret this. Don't ever do this unless you do it better than I do, then please let me know, but I hated how this turned out. It's okay in the end. It was salvaged by the title and actually putting stuff in there, but I mean, it is what it is. I then just added these little highlights which just tied the page together, and you can see they alternate with the days of the week. Moving on to the next page, I have my goals dump. I like to make personal goals for myself every year, and I don't tend to put them on YouTube, so I'm going to fill this out later. But I keep this page pretty simple, pretty minimalist, and I actually ended up doing all of my goals themselves in multicolored and just kept the titles black and white in this cursive. And then after that, we have yet another very boring page. This is my year in pixels, so this is how I track my feelings and my moods. Generally, I tend to just pick the mood that happened best that day, but it ends up being a fun little grid of colour. I've done this for my last 2 bullet journals and I really enjoy it. I do fall behind sometimes, but I mean, you can generally remember how you felt mostly on one day. In the past I've also done them lengthways, but I did them vertical this year. And the title is almost always the same. I also changed up the colour scheme this year, so there is that too. But that is my goals and pixels. Oh, and here I'm just adding all the days that don't actually exist and crossing them out. Moving on, this page is incredibly boring, so I sped through this really quickly, but this is my movies and TV show wrap up. I just did these like film things that I sketched out to make the page a bit more exciting than it actually is, but I ended up towards the end of the year actually tracking all the TVs and movie shows that I watched, so I figured I would officially do that this year. And moving on to my favourite 2 pages of this bullet journal. So this first page where I have all these pictures of books is my 22 in 22. So these are the books that I actually want to read in 2022. I have an entire video about this coming out, so I won't go into any kind of depth, but you can see that these books that I have pasted here are the ones I want to read in 2022. And then the next page is my TBR shelves. This is another spread that I've done in the last 2 bullet journals I have as well. Basically, it's just a picture of all of the books that I have on my TBR shelf. And I started out with a record number this year of 61 books. So we'll see how we go with that. Most people would do this for like books that they've read, is mostly what I've seen it used for, but I find it so satisfying to see the shelf be coloured in as I read the books throughout the year. I'm curious to know, how many books do you have on your TBR shelf? Because 61 is a lot, and I feel like I am an anomaly here. And then just for, decoration, I added some plants because it's very on brand for me. I didn't love how this attempt at a money plant turned out, but I love how these string of pearls turned out, and I actually did them on the next page as well because I loved them so much. Working on my drawing is something that I have actually made a goal this year to illustrate a bit better. I stopped for a quick coffee break, and you can see here I'm actually just writing in all of the titles of the books onto the spines. This took a ridiculously long time and it is incredibly boring, and I have again an entire video coming out about this, so I will skip through a lot of this right here and you will very soon just see the final product of how that turned out. And these are, my 2 favorites in the entire bullet journal. Now, this next page I actually scrapped. So I'm not going to show you what happened, but this is the end result. So I ended up putting just some washi tape at the top up here, and then I just stuck that over what was drawn and kept the base outline, as you can see. And moving on to the last 2 pages in my bullet journal is my YouTube brain dump. This is a page that I had in my last bullet journal, kind of halfway through the book. I added it in later, just with a spare page. And it was a really, really good way for me to kind of note down ideas that I had about YouTube videos that I wanted to keep because I thought they were good and I knew that I wouldn't remember them. So now there's a whole page for that, actually at the start of the book. How exciting. There's that string of pearls again. So fun. And I think that this is my favorite individual page that I made in the book. I had no idea what I was going to do for this until I was doing it, so I think that made it even better. But this is my YouTube planner for the year. So towards the end of last year, I found that I was trying to put on scrap pieces of paper when I was going to be posting different videos and what I was going to do for that month, and so I made a dedicated space for it because I have a bullet journal and I can do that. But I also am thinking I might try and digitize this and put it on Notion a bit later in the year, because that is another one of my goals, is to use Notion more. But I just love how these bumblebees turned out. I think it's such a cute theme, and I'm probably going to make an entire month in the journal this bee theme. And then I realized that I should colour this in because it looks way better coloured in than what it looked when it was not. And that is my bullet journal layout for 2022. It's not exactly a reading journal, it's not exactly a bullet journal, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching it either way. Let me know if you have a bullet journal in the comments. I would love to chat to you, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.